Okay, boys, today the topic of discussion is exhalation and inhalation. Okay, today the topic of discussion is exhalation and inhalation. We should know what is exhalation and what is inhalation, right? So, boys, be with me very carefully. Inhalation is actually taking of air from outside. So this is called what? Inhalation. While exhalation is giving out of air. Okay, when we are taking air from outside, right? So at that time, our lungs expand or lungs inflated. Okay, that is called what? At that time, it means when our lung expand, right, the pressure inside that will decrease and air from out, right, from out air will come in. Is it clear? While exhalation, when you are giving out of air, right, at that time your lung will go back to its position, right? Okay, at that time you can see the muscle of that will relax. Muscle of your lung will relax. So that is called what? Exhalation. Now today we are going to study that what are the changes will come in our body when we are taking air in and we are giving out. First of all, as we discussed already about intercostal muscle. Intercostal muscle, right? One we have an external intercostal muscle and another we have internal intercostal muscle. Right? Intercostal muscle is actually the muscle between the ribs. For example, this is bone of rib and this is bone of rib. So between that muscle is called what? That muscle is called that is called intercostal muscle. Right? Now, if that is outside, like it means it is toward outside, so that is called what? External intercostal muscle. If it is toward lungs, that is internal intercostal muscle. Then we discuss about diaphragm, right? Then we discuss about diaphragm. If you see here, diaphragm is actually a sheath that is present down the lungs. You can see here, this is called diaphragm. So what are the changes that will come in diaphragm? What will happen with diaphragm during inhalation and exhalation? You should be clear about this. Okay, now let's see the changes. Breathing in means inhalation. When you are taking oxygen, right? So at that time, you can see here, your sternum will come out. Sternum is actually this bone of the bone through which your ribs attach. That is called what? Sternum, this bone. Okay, so when this sternum come out, so what will happen? Space will produce for the lung. So lungs will expand. Lung will expand. Okay. Now, when lung expand, it means the space inside that created for the air. Okay, boys. So breathing in, when I'm taking air, so at that time my sternum bone, the bone to which ribs connected, that sternum bone will come out. Okay, and external intercostal muscle will contract. External intercostal muscle, the muscle that is present between your ribs, but that is toward outside. That muscle will contract, that muscle will contract, while internal intercostal muscle will relax. Both are antagonistic, doing opposite of each other. Means in breathing in, my external intercostal muscle will contract and internal will relax. Right? and thus my rib cage will come out. When rib cage come out, when it become broad, so at that time space will be created for what? Means the space will be more now. When the space is more, so from out to in, you know, out inside the pressure now decrease. So from out to in, the air will enter. Okay, at the same time, remember, during breathing in, your diaphragm muscle will contract. Your diaphragm will become like this. This is diaphragm. I will show you now another image. Right? And breathing out or exhalation, what will happen? During exhalation, air should go out from our body. So at that time, right, take opposite of that. At that time, internal relax, sorry. At that time, external relax, while internal will contract. Internal intercostal muscle will contract. And diaphragm will relax. Diaphragm will become dome shape, like this. Okay, you can check here. Check here, in this case, when I'm taking air from outside, so in this case, diaphragm is what? Diaphragm is contracted. Okay, diaphragm contracted. While, okay, while in this time, you can see when at the time at which air pushed out, when I'm pushing air outside from the lung. So at that time, you know, diaphragm muscle relax, okay, and diaphragm become dome shape, like this. Okay, so remember, you can face such question in which they will provide you such two images in which you have to find that you from this diaphragm you have to you know, you have to find that what is going on here. So definitely if diaphragm is contracted in this shape, so this time it is you are taking air from outside, right? And you can see here the rib is expanded, so that created more space for lungs, right? While in this case, you know, rib cage going back to a position, okay, right? And the cavity inside that is going to be decreased, okay, right? So because of, you know, that pressure will created on lungs, higher pressure will make the lungs to, you know, when the pressure is increasing on the lungs, so the air will push outside from your lungs, right? A diaphragm become here dome shape. Why? Because of the muscle relaxation of diaphragm. Okay, the other change we already discussed, that in this case, in this case, when you are taking air from outside, in this case, external intercostal muscle relax, internal will contract. While in this case, in this case, when you are taking air from out, so external will contract. Listen here very carefully. External will contract, internal will relax. While in this case, when you are doing exhalation, so at this time, external will relax, okay, internal will contract. Both are opposite. Is it clear? So during exhalation, internal intercostal muscle will contract and pulling rib down. Okay, rib will go back, they will go down because of that pressure will produce, that will make the air to push it out from your lungs. Okay, so these are the changes that happen during exhalation and inhalation. Okay, boys, you can see here, this is with us, this one is external intercostal muscle, that is toward outside, right, between the ribs, while this one is internal intercostal muscle. This is rib bone, okay, one rib bone, another rib bone, between that you know, intercostal muscle present. So you can see here, this one toward the lungs, this one is what, toward the lungs, this one This is internal intercostal muscle and this one is external intercostal muscle. Okay, and this bone is actually sternum bone, to which all the ribs are connected. Okay. This is short summary of the lesson. During inspiration, external intercostal muscle will contract, right? While during expiration or exhalation, internal intercostal muscle will contract, right? During inspiration, rib cage moving that will move upward, right? While during expiration, rib cage will go back to its position, right? What will happen with diaphragm? Diaphragm will contract during inspiration, while during expiration, diaphragm will relax. During inspiration, diaphragm will move down, right? While during expiration, diaphragm will move up. This arrow represents you up, like diaphragm will become this dome shape. Okay, right? Air pressure and the cavity and the thoracic cavity will lower. Why? Because of the space that is created in the lungs. Because your rib cage move up, while during expiration, right, pressure is higher than, right, higher pressure than outside pressure. So because of that, air will move from higher, from in to out, right? In inspiration, air will rushes into the lungs, while during expiration, air will rushes out of the lungs. Is it okay? All right, boys, according to your question, what is expiration and what happened with diaphragm, right? So remember, boys, expiration is when I'm taking out air from my body. So what are the changes that will come in my body at that time? That change will be opposite from inspiration. At that time, when I'm removing air out, so what happened? My sternum go back, my rib cage go back to its position, right? Go, means rib cage position is downward, that go downward. When it that go downward, right? So at that time, you know, it puts pressure over the lungs, and because of that, lung become contract, right? Like because of that contraction, the pressure inside the lung decrease, and when the pressure inside the lung increase, so then outside. So because of that, air will come from in to out. And why this rib cage go back? Because of intercostal muscle. At that time, internal intercostal muscle contract, internal contract, while this the outer that is present between the ribs, that relax. So that's why my rib cage go back, go downward, right? Okay, while when I'm exhaling, my diaphragm will relax. When it's relaxed, so it will become like this. But when diaphragm is contracted in inspiration, so at that time diaphragm will become like this. Okay? During expiration, because of the higher pressure inside the lung, the air will move outside. Okay? All right, boys. The composition of inspired and expired air. So, you know, in inspired air, 21% oxygen will be there, okay? And within expired air, right, oxygen will decrease. It means like this 5% decrease. From 21, the value moved toward 16. Why? Because that oxygen utilized for the process of respiration. Oxygen is absorbed across the gas exchange surface. Is it clear? Then used by cell and respiration. Because of that, the value of oxygen moved from 21 to 16%. Inspired air, 0.04% carbon dioxide present, right? While expired air, if you see the value increase, why it increased? because carbon dioxide made inside respiring cell and that diffuse out the gas exchange surface. That it diffuses across the gas exchange surface, right? So, right, this 4% is more. Why it is more? Because it have to move out from your body. This came from this 4% came from your cells through blood, and that have to be diffused out through your gas exchange surface to your alveoli. That's why this percentage increase from 0.0% to 4%. Okay, is it clear? And other gases are gone, and other noble gases that remain same 1%. No need of this. And water humidity, variable. It is different, and inspired air it depends on the atmosphere, right? And expired air always high. Gas exchange surfaces are made of living cell, so must be kept moist. Some of this moisture evaporate into the air. Is it clear? As I told you before, that gas exchange surfaces contain moist air, in which the gases can also be dissolved, right? So that moisture, you can see here, that moisture can be evaporate, and that can make water content and humidity and expired air increase, right? And temperature also variable, and inspired air depend on outside, right? And always warm expired air, the air that you are giving out. So air is warm. Is it passes through the respiratory passage? When it is passes through respiratory passage, so because of the air, because of the heat production in our body, because of that air become what? Warm. All right, boys, today the topic of discussion is lime water test to check for carbon dioxide in your breath. Up to here we discussed, during exhalation, we are releasing carbon dioxide. To check that, to investigate the difference in the composition between inspired and expired air. Lime water can be used because it can change the color, when gas is bubbled through, from colorless to milky. So there is more carbon dioxide present in expired air that make lime water change color more quickly than inspired air, right? It means when we are expiring air, so that's having more carbon dioxide. So as compared to inspired air, that expired air, when you expired to water, to a solution, right? That change, I will discuss about that now. What's that? Lime water. It is actually lime water. I will tell you now what's that. So this will convert that lime water into milk. You can check here in this tube. Before it was, it was clear. Lime water was before carbon dioxide. It was clear. But when I exhale to this tube, so what will happen with this tube? This tube change into milk.
Mr. Lime water, this one in the notebook.
Lime water in this change into milky, right?
Mr.
Is it clear? Now, why it changed into milky? Because of the carbon dioxide that is in our expired air. Now, test for carbon dioxide. What is that test? Carbon dioxide turn lime water cloudy or milky. How it is? The first thing is, like carbon dioxide will react with calcium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide is actually what? Lime water. And when carbon dioxide react with calcium hydroxide, so because of that, it will convert into calcium carbonate. And the color of calcium carbonate will be what? Milky. Okay, so this is the indication that in our exhale air, carbon dioxide is more. Why? Because exhale, when I exhale air2, that lime water, it will turn milky quickly as compared to inspired air. Is it clear? So why it happened? Because of calcium carbonate. Because of that lime water, first it was clear, now it is milky. Now let's suppose, dear students, today I am going to discuss this graph, right? This is very important graph for exam point of view. This graph represents us the changes that will happen in our lungs when we are doing inspiration air and exhalation, right? Now, the first thing we should check it here, like the one side of the graph, you check here on y-axis, it's mentioned to us pressure in lungs, right? Kilopascal, while this one mentioned to us time, right? Now, the pressure of the lungs, if you check it here, this is, at this point, it is 101. Am I clear? Now, if you see when I'm going from this 101, so this is the time when I am, like, is the pressure is increasing. When the pressure is increasing, it means that I am exhaling air. The pressure is increasing in my lung, so it means I am exhaling lung. So this place, this steps in which the pressure is moving from 101 to 102, it show me exhalation. It show me what? Exhalation. Right? Why it show me exhalation? Because at this time I'm giving out air, so definitely the rib will move back to its position and that will put pressure on your lung. So because of that, inside the lung pressure will increase so that air gets out from your body. Am I clear? While in this case, when the pressure is decreasing, pressure is going from 1 kPa to 100. At this time, it means the pressure is decreasing. It means there is more space for lung to expand. And when it will happen, when your when your rib cage come out, right, or that expand, so at that time lung will also expand because there is more space for lung. And when lung expands, it means the pressure inside the lung will decrease. Am I clear? Now, when so the down, when it is going from 101 to 100, it show me inspiration, right? Am I clear? When I'm taking air from outside. Now, when the pressure is increased at this 101, when the pressure is increasing in my lung, so what will happen? This point represents me what? This, from here the pressure start to increase. So when the pressure is increasing, it means intercostal muscle start contraction. Where is external intercostal muscle? What? One internal intercostal muscle. So these are the step of exhalation. So in exhalation, listen me very carefully, internal intercostal muscle start to contract. Internal intercostal muscle will start to contract. Am I clear? Where is external intercostal muscle will relax? The muscle that is toward outside, not toward lung side. So that will start to relax. While diaphragm will also relax and pressure in the lung will start to increase. It means now you are exhaling. It means you are giving out carbon dioxide from your body. Am I clear? So definitely during exhalation, my internal intercostal muscle will contract while external will relax. Am I clear? Now, when the pressure reach too high to this level, So after this, you know, what will happen? The pressure have to go back. Why? Because you removed hair. Removal of hair is a result of expiration decrease. The air inside in your lung now decrease. So the pressure inside the lung will also decrease. Right? When I remove the air, when that go out from my lungs, so it's mean the pressure in lung decrease. Now the pressure in lung start to decrease, and now it's reached to 101, that is stable position of lung. It's not exhaling and not inhaling. Right? Now another step is you will start inspiration. You remove the air, but now you need oxygen. So for that, what will happen? You will start inspiration. Inspiration means taking off oxygen or taking off air from outside. So definitely all the changes that is happening and inspiration that will start to come in my lung. The first one is internal intercostal muscle will relax while the external will contract. When the external is contracting, you can see when the chest is coming out, it means an external intercostal muscle is contracting while internal is relaxing. Right? At the same time, diaphragm will contract. At the same time, diaphragm will contract. As a result of that, what will happen? There will be more space for lung. Lung will expand more. When lung expand more, so what will happen? Decrease in pressure in lung will take place. And thus the lung pressure will decrease gradually. Right? But when I inhale again, so what will happen? Inflow of air. It means like now I'm first in this step, I prepare my lung for what I provide space for air. Now, because of that, the pressure decrease. When the pressure decrease from out to in, air enter. Right? Because outside is more and inside is less. Through diffusion that enter to my lung now. Now, you know, inflow of air regain the pressure. So when that air from outside enters to my lung, so my lung pressure increase once again. So inflow of air regain the pressure inside the lungs. Is it clear? All right, boys. So in the exam, you can face such question from this graph. They will mention you, for example, here they mention me A, here they will mention me B, here they will mention me C and D. And then they will ask, like, for example, they will ask, what will happen with intercostal muscle at point B? What will happen with diaphragm? For example, I mentioned this point E. What will happen with diaphragm at point E? Like such a question you can face, right? Or I already mentioned this point. It's here already A, B, C, D. Okay, so C. What will happen with diaphragm at point C? So such question you can face in the exam. Okay. All right, points, exercise and breathing rate. All the cells in your body need oxygen for what? For respiration. Okay. And all of this oxygen is supplied by lungs. So the oxygen is carried by blood to every part of the body. Sometimes cell may need a lot of oxygen very quickly. Imagine you are running in a race. The muscle and your legs are using up a lot of energy, right? Because that muscle is contracting, relaxing, that need more energy when you are running. So the cell in the muscle will be combining with oxygen, right? With glucose, will be combining with oxygen, with glucose as fast as they can, right? To release energy for muscle. It means in this case, oxygen will combine with glucose to release energy from glucose, right? And your muscle. So a lot of oxygen is needed to work as hard as this. We need a lot of oxygen during exercise or running because our body needs more energy, and that energy we will get through respiration. And for the process of respiration, we need oxygen. Okay, so and oxygen we will take it you through breathing. You will breathe deeper and faster, quickly and more deeper breathing rate should be, right? To get more oxygen into your lung, and your heart will beat faster. Your heartbeat rate will also increase. Why? To get the oxygen to the leg muscle as quickly as possible. But eventually a limit will reach. The heart and lung can't supply oxygen to the muscle any faster. There is a limit. If my breathing rate is high, my heartbeat is high, heart is pushing the blood to my cells or to my leg muscle to provide oxygen to that for the process of respiration. But still the demand is more. Still the oxygen demand is more. And lungs and heart unable to provide enough oxygen that the muscle need because your running is more. Is it clear? So, but more energy is still needed for the race. So how can that extra energy be found? So your body is now trying to get extra energy for some another reaction. So let's see from what they will take. Now our body, some cell will divert toward what? For the extra oxygen, they will start what? Anaerobic respiration. In anaerobic respiration, glucose is broken down without combining oxygen. So glucose will convert into lactic acid plus little energy. It means there is no any other way with your body to produce energy except anaerobic respiration. Right, so it's a little energy, but still that is energy because our body need energy. So also aerobic is happening, but some cell is doing anaerobic because there is no enough oxygen. So as you know, this doesn't release very much energy, but a little extra might make all the difference. When you stop running, you will have quite a lot of lactic acid in your muscle and your blood. When you stop exercise, in your muscle and in your blood, there is lactic acid. That lactic acid is not good for your body, right? So that should be removed. Am I clear? So the lactic acid must be broken down by combining it with oxygen in the liver. Means this lactic acid, after stopping exercise or running, you need extra oxygen for the breakdown of this lactic acid, right? So even though you don't need the energy anymore, but you go on breathing faster and more deeply, but still your breathing rate is high and your heart rate is also very high. Why? You are taking in and transporting extra oxygen. You are transporting extra oxygen for the breakdown of that lactic acid that formed when you was doing exercise. So the faster heart rate also helps to transport lactic acid as quickly as possible from the muscle to liver, because the breakdown of the lactic acid will take place in the liver. So this faster heart rate helps to take that liquid lactic acid that produced in muscle to your liver through blood. Am I clear? Because heart is pushing the blood, so it is pushing more and more blood to liver, right? It is pushing more and more blood to divinity. It will pass through liver. Am I clear? Now, while you are running, you built an extra oxygen depth. So the extra, when I was running, so I built what? An extra. You built oxygen depth. You burn some extra energy without paying for it with oxygen. Now, if the lactic acid is combined with oxygen, you are paying off. You are paying off, right? Now you are giving back that oxygen, right? So that extra oxygen, right, that I'm giving back. First, when you were running, you built up an oxygen depth. I built up oxygen depth. You burned some extra energy without paying for it. You take some extra oxygen, but you didn't pay for it. Pay means like you didn't give oxygen, right? Now, when you stop exercise, right? Now you are giving that extra oxygen back. You develop oxygen debt, right? Now, when I stop exercise, I have to give that oxygen back. I have to give this oxygen for that for the lactic acid breakdown. So simply, I will tell you here that oxygen dip is now what actually the extra oxygen that I'm giving back, that is oxygen dip. Okay, until now, not until all the lactic acid is being used up, does your breathing rate and rate of heartbeat return to normal, right? Not until all the lactic acid is being used up, does your breathing rate and rate of heartbeat return to normal. Still there is lactic acid, but your breathing rate will come gradually to normal because you pay off for that. That oxygen reach to there. So now the process of respiration will start. So that will start to do a breakdown of lactic acid. So that will take some time. Okay. Now, the rate at which your breathing muscle work and therefore your breathing rate is controlled by brain. The rate at which your breathing muscle work, right? It means simple, just keep it in mind that our breathing muscle, right? The muscle and your ribs, right? That work are your breathing rate, it's controlled by your brain. It's controlled by whom? By your brain. How it's controlled by your brain? The brain actually constantly monitor pH of the blood. If the pH of the blood is decreasing, why the pH of blood will decrease? Because of accumulation of lactic acid in my blood is a result of anaerobic respiration during exercise. And also if carbon dioxide is increasing in my blood, this carbon dioxide release is the result of aerobic respiration. I told you both are happening at the same time. So aerobic respiration in human body, it will produce carbon dioxide. So it means if the rate of aerobic respiration is high, so it means also your breathing rate and your muscle activity is more. And lactic acid, lactic acid accumulation, that will make the pH, these two, carbon dioxide and lactic acid, that will decrease the pH of the blood. Like carbon dioxide can make carbonic acid by reacting with water, right? And lactic acid is also acidic, so that can decrease the pH of the blood. When the pH of the blood decrease, your blood will sense that. And it will send, your brain will sense that. And it will send narrow impulse to diaphragm and intercostal muscle. Narrow impulse will send to your diaphragm and intercostal muscle and will stimulate them to start contraction harder and more often. So as a result of that, your breathing rate will increase. And breathing rate and deeper rate will be there, so that you take some extra oxygen from outside, right, to decrease that pH, to increase that. It means to remove that lactic acid from your blood and to remove that carbon dioxide. If my breathing rate is high, exhalation, inhalation is high, so definitely I will remove carbon dioxide from, or through exhalation, I will remove carbon dioxide from my blood. Okay. Dear students, the topic of discussion for today is effect of smoking. Tobacco smoking is very dangerous for health. Is it cause lung disease? Such is like bronchitis, It's the inflammation of bronchi, and it can cause emphysema, right, in which your alveoli lost elasticity, a person having difficulty in breathing, and it can also cause cancer, especially lung cancer. Cancer is a condition in which our body cells start to divide abnormally. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the component of smoking or component of tobacco smoking. What are the substances that are present in tobacco that are responsible for these disease, and also what are the other effects that can cause in our body. So let us study that in detail. Component of tobacco smoking. Okay. Tobacco smoking having three important components. First one is nicotine. Second one is carbon monoxide. Right? And third one is tar. So we are going to study all these three components in detail now. First one we will start from, first one we will study about nicotine. Okay. Nicotine is a substance that is present in tobacco smoking, and because of nicotine, a person become addictive. Because of nicotine, a person become addictive. Why? Because nicotine contain special nicotine actually stimulates our brain, right? So because of nicotine, a person become addictive. Addictive means a person become habitual of tobacco. Without that, he does not feel well, and he can't live off tobacco easily, because this nicotine actually stimulates our brain, and that produce special neurotransmitter or a special chemical called dopamine, right? Dopamine. Once again, listen me. Actually, nicotine stimulates our brain, right? And brain will produce special chemical called dopamine, and this is actually neurotransmitter, dopamine. And this dopamine cause you know, when dopamine is producing in our body, we feel happy, pleasure effect of this dopamine having pleasure effect on our body. And you know, this dopamine, when it is producing in our body, we feel we can feel pleasure. And this dopamine make a person habitual, because you will feel well with the production of dopamine. So this dopamine will make your brain, or it will teach to your brain to for a certain action to do that again and again. So because of that, a person become what? Because of this dopamine, person become habitual of tobacco smoking. Another effect of nicotine is, you know, it stimulates adrenal gland. And we know already that adrenal gland producing what? Adrenaline. Adrenaline is actually hormone, and this hormone produced when a person is in stress, or you know, in a emergency or something, like when a person afraid from something. So at that time, adrenaline produced. Is this adrenaline actually at that time increase our blood our heart rate to push more and more blood to our cells for the, you know, when more blood is, there is more supply of blood to our cell, so it means more oxygen will reach to our cells, right? Because blood carrying oxygen, if more oxygen is going to our cells, so the process of respiration will be high. And so in that case, in a when a, there is when a person afraid, or when there is emergency or in stress, so it's pushing more and more blood to our muscle cells especially, okay, to so that you fight with the situation. But in this case, this nicotine stimulate our adrenal gland, and adrenal gland produce this hormone. And without, you know, that condition is not like that to be like, this is not the condition in which our body needs more blood or like that. But still the production of this adrenaline, our heart rate, heartbeat or heart rate high. And when heart rate is high, so it means blood supply, our blood pressure will be also high. Blood pressure, right? So it increase our blood pressure, adrenaline and nicotine. Another, nicotine also actually nerve our artery, artery arterioles. It make our arterioles nerve. Okay. Nicotine also increase risk of blood clotting. Okay. Now this is all about nicotine. Now we will discuss about carbon monoxide. Another component of tobacco smoking is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide You know, carbon monoxide actually decrease the oxygen carrying capacity of our red blood cells, right? So another one we have carbon monoxide, okay, CO. Actually, this carbon monoxide decreasing oxygen carrying ability of red blood cell. How, you know, red blood cell contain hemoglobin, right? This hemoglobin is responsible for carrying oxygen, right? But in case of carbon monoxide, hemoglobin having high affinity, hemoglobin having high binding ability, or you know, hemoglobin can bind with carbon monoxide easily as compared to oxygen. So because of that, you know, red blood cell contain the hemoglobins, and you know, when there is carbon monoxide, so that hemoglobin will bind with what? That hemoglobin will bind with carbon monoxide. It means that, you know, a red blood cell will not be fully saturated with oxygen. There will be, but you know, hemoglobin will also bind with carbon monoxide instead of oxygen. So it means, like, for example, normally red blood cell carrying 100, for example, red blood cell normally become 100% saturated, or right, 100% saturated, or 98%. Usually it is like, it's mostly 98% saturation of red blood cell happening, right? So in case of carbon monoxide, that saturation will be approximately 75% or 70, right? It means it means is if there is carbon monoxide, so red blood cell will not bind more to what? uh, Oxygen. There will be less oxygen with will carry by our red blood cell because of the presence of carbon monoxide, right? Simply you just keep it in mind that it actually decreases the oxygen carrying ability of hemoglobin, our red blood cell to our cell. It means our red blood cell will not take enough oxygen to our cell because of binding of carbon monoxide instead of oxygen. Okay, so if there is less supply of oxygen to our muscle or to our heart, so it means there will be less energy for that. So, you know, it can cause such a problem in our body. So this is the effect of carbon dioxide. Even carbon monoxide can also damage our blood vessel directly. It means carbon monoxide can also damage lining of arteries. Okay, all right. Now another component we have tar. Tar is actually collection of chemical or substances, okay, that are present in tobacco smoking. Okay, and this tar is the first thing, it is carcinogenic. This contains certain chemical carcinogenic carcinogenic, that is carcinogenic. Carcinogenic means that can cause cancer. That can cause cancer. And you know, cancer is actually a condition in which our body cells start abnormal cell division. Okay. So because of this star, a person having more chances of cancer and especially lung cancer. This star also means star can also damage cilia in our breathing system. You know, in our breathing system or gas exchange system contain what? Ciliated cell, as we studied already. So this the function of this cilia is to push out mucus from our breathing system. But actually they start damage the cilia. When it damage it, the cilia will not work properly. So in that place, what will happen? That mucus will remain for a long time. And when this mucus definitely that is producing by what? By Goblet cell. So when it remains for a long time, so it can cause also infection. If it cause infection in our bronchi, you know, and if it inflame our bronchi, right? So if it inflame our bronchi, so what will happen? If it inflame it, right, or bronchi, so that condition is called bronchitis. Bronchitis. So it means tar can also cause inflammation of bronchi, and you know, in that place, mucus will accumulate in bronchi. When mucus accumulate in bronchi, so a person will having difficulty in breathing and breathing. Okay, and also having severe coughing, right? Look at here. This is if you check here, this is our this part. If you can see here, this is our, you know, bronchi, right? And if you take one part of your, if you take bronchi here, you can check this is normal, right? It is not inflamed. You check the wall, it is narrow. But in this case, you know, because of the tar, so this wall become thick. When this wall become thick, so you know here, this inflamed, right? And as a result of that inflammation, also thick mucus accumulate here, right? So this condition is called what? Bronchitis. So another condition that caused by, you know, tar, that damage, you know, the alveoli. The condition is called emphysema, in which damage of you know, this tar actually damage alveoli wall, right? So you know, when it damage alveolar wall, so alveoli will lose its elasticity. You can see here, you know, this one is the normal, okay, you know, but this lining damaged by what you can check here in alveoli with emphysema. Here is no that lining. So because of this wall, damaging of this wall, alveoli will lose its elasticity, and you know, it will disturb the breathing. So a person having emphysema is having difficulty in breathing and you know, also that person having problem of coughing. All these are especially, you know, that person will having problem in breathing. Okay,
So all this is about component of smoking, and today lecture we discuss about all these mm, components of smoking, including tar and empathy, tar, nicotine, and carbon monoxide. We should know what is the effect of all these and what kind of what disease it can cause, like emphysema and bronchitis. Am I clear to all? If you're having any question up to here, you can ask.